Hello and welcome to World of Tanks with Ribrock, and today we're going to take a look at the FV201 A45. And the reason we're taking a look at this tank is because I believe that it's kind of been forgotten. You don't see them very often, so today I'm going to show you how to play it, or how I play it, and if you have no interest in the tank, then how to take it out effectively. So we're going to jump over to Tanks GG quickly and take a look at its armor model. So here we are now over at Tanks GG comparing all of the tanks, and all these tanks are in their full upgraded configuration without any firing base ammunition. And so we've got the Black Prince as the counterpart of the British line for a British heavy tank, the IS-2, the Russian premium version from the Berlin Quartet, the VK4503 is a German premium tank, and the T29 because I believe the T29 is also the type of tank which prefers to be hull down like this one. So if we look here, the DPM is best on the FV. However, compared to the other tanks, you'll notice that the damage on it, like the Black Prince, is only 150, and therefore you have to fire a lot more shells into the opponent to do a higher damage number, which can be harder to do that full DPM as compared to some of the other tanks on this list. The penetration on the gun is good. It's not as good as any of the other tanks, but 171 is alright. Gets the job done most of the time, although you might find yourself hitting that 2 key to get some gold ammunition, and I do recommend carrying some of it for those higher, stronger tanks. The rate of fire is quite high. It's better than the Black Prince, and of course better than the rest of the tanks, with a 4.12 second reload as compared to the rest of them, is because of that lower alpha damage, the higher rate of fire. It's a 17-pounder gun on the tank, and the shell velocity is alright, so I find leading in targets is okay. The ammunition capacity though it's good. I have never run out of ammunition, although if you are firing a lot, it does have almost one of the lowest potential damages as compared to the rest of these tanks on the list. As for the gun handling, the aim time is good compared to the rest of the tanks, with only being beat out by the VK. The dispersion as well, being 3.7 is, it's good. I've never really had much of an issue with that, and once you get the tank all kitted out, you'll notice that for the rest of the gun stats, does tend to be on par with, if not better, than some of the rest of the tanks. The maneuverability of 31 kilometers an hour is quite slow. It's not Black Prince slow, but it is slower than the rest of the tanks on this comparison. However, 16 kilometers an hour in reverse is quite nice, and the engine power of 800 gives this tank quite a nice power to weight ratio, and so you will notice that it does shift around quite quickly. The problem I find though with this tank is the armor, because the whole armor of 76.2 millimeters is just terrible, to be honest. It's worst in class, and you won't be stopping anything with that with the whole armor at all, except for maybe some weak tier 5 guns. Other than that, it will penetrate every time. However, 152mm of frontal turret armor is quite nice. Not quite as good as the T29, but it will allow you to go hull down. It's not as good as the Black Prince either, but the Black Prince is a very well armored tank. And a view range of 380. It's not quite blind, it's on par with the VK and the T29, so that's good as well. So let's head over to the armor model and we'll see how bad the whole armor actually is, and I'll give you a better look on how to angle this tank or use it effectively. So here we are looking at the 3D armor model of the tank, and as you can see, it's the tank, and if we go to the collision models, you'll notice that 76mm of frontal armor, even face on, is only equal to about 122, which, as you can see, is a 100% chance to penetrate by just about everything. The strongest part on the front of the tank is actually the the little machine gun port here with 120 millimeters of armor, which is alright, but it's not going to be stopping anything, and the likelihood of actually being hit by that on that is low. You notice the armor does come up to 109 on this little lip thing that sticks out from the tank a bit, where the armor joins, however, still is not going to actually stop much either, which is unfortunate. However, the turret armor is quite nice, with frontal armor of 152 millimeters on the gun mantlet here, and 152 on the frontal armor on the front of the tank, going down a bit on the cheeks of the turret here. But here's the biggest weakness for the turret is if you need to shoot this tank from the front and it's going hull down like it should be, shoot this forehead. This forehead is quite weak, only being 50 millimeters of frontal armor, and therefore you are likely to penetrate that every time. But if we go to the live armor model, you'll notice that no matter what angle we get, until you get to about this angle on the frontal armor, it will not ricochet at all. Even at this type of angle, kinda like this, it's still only 160, and there's high likelihood that they will penetrate that. If not, they're going to just shoot you in the side, in which case there's not really any point angling. So I find that you have to go hull down in this tank if you want to survive. Occasionally, from time to time, you can side scrape a little bit like this against lower tier tanks, and sometimes it will ricochet or be absorbed into the tracks. However, I would not count on it, and it should be a last resort for some type of city map or something, where it's practically impossible to find a good position. Really, what you should be doing is using your good gun depression to fire and look like this, and hide your whole armor. Make this top bit here weak, or strong, sorry, make that strong, and your turret should be fairly thick. But the interesting thing with this tank, as I found, is that if you notice over here, the gun actually has more depression over the sides, so sometimes you'll find yourself driving up a hill a bit like this to get better gun depression, and hopefully hide that hole. So let's head back to the garage. So here we are back in the garage, and as for equipment on this tank, I like to run gun rammer because if you can, normally you should. Enhanced gun laying drive to get that aim time a bit quicker, and vertical stabilizers for a lower accuracy, more accuracy, and just general better maneuverability, firing on the maneuver performance. Because this tank, I've noticed, the way I like to play it sometimes is what you have to do is sometimes when you're poking up on those hills, the less time that you can expose your tank to the enemy, the better, because if you get hit in the hole, it will penetrate and you will take damage. So as for crew, this is the crew from my TOG, but things like Sixth Sense is quite useful on the tank, and if you can, ideally training repairs first and then your other stuff later. So I think that's all I want to say for this. For ammunition, I normally carry about 40 rounds of AP, 30 of APCR, and 4 of HE. That might be a little bit much on the APCR, but I find that in those circumstances where you are facing a lot of stronger opponents, you will go through that ammunition quite quickly. So let's get into some gameplay live. So here we are, the map is Ruinberg, and it is a tier 8 game. Is it? Yeah, it's a tier 8 game, with 3 tier 8s on each team. So this map's a little bit interesting because it's a city map, and often city maps you have to get a little bit more creative with your going hull down, so we're gonna head into the city anyway. And often I find what can be useful is hiding your hull behind another tank, or finding a conveniently placed piece of rubble. So coming up on position now, we're gonna try and hide ourselves behind this little gap in the rubble, in the ruin of this building, and see what comes down that road. But unfortunately the tiger seems to have better ideas, giving us a little bit of a tap from behind there. Thankfully though, he wasn't going to be an issue about us using this position. Another tiger here, and waiting for contact now. Fortunately, the other tiger on the team also seems to have a little bit of an issue with us using this position, even though we got here first, so I'm just going to save the hassle, I think, and move on. We got our first potential target up at tier 6 and a KV2. First shot misses the KV2. Unfortunately blocking the tiger there, so we move out of his way quickly. Poking the corner, there's a second one now. So firing a shot away. He doesn't seem to want to take the shot. Instead he fires it into the tiger, which I unfortunately blocked again. And then this Spice Panzer shows up. And we're just gonna dispatch of him now, shutting him down. However, in our distraction, we got hit by the KV2. And thankfully that didn't penetrate and do more damage. Being hit by the second KV2 again. I think that may have been splash damage. There's 3 of them now. Taking a sneaky shot into the turret. Hopefully one more. That one bounces, oh no. Get another shot. That one finishing off that KV2. However, this has mostly been tier 6 tanks at the moment. Same 2 tier 6 tanks as well. Doing already exactly 800 damage. I'm gonna push ahead, see if the rest of the team will follow me. Watching this road. Killing that guy on the way past. Now we're gonna turn sideways here. Not to side scrape, but to see if we can get the KV2 to fire in our tracks and hopefully have the tracks eat the shot. KV2 tries to angle there. Firing a second shot, penetrates. Overmatching this guy's armor, setting him on fire, but he seems to have a premium fire extinguisher. Just tearing him apart here, set him on fire again. But unfortunately the KV2 takes that kill. Now the T-29 is a little bit harder of a tank. However, he got slammed for a nice big hit there, and I've seen that he's just fired. So I feel safe to pop out and finish him off during his reload. Now it seems that our Tiger 1s have pushed up. Whoops, accidentally firing a shot there. Our Tiger 1s have pushed up there, and I see that we've got other issues, so I'm going to use this fountain to go hold down behind and fire away into these guys. And this is where popping out... Auto aim not helping us there. This is the type of situation where popping out, firing a quick shot, and then popping back in behind cover can be quite useful. Now I'm gonna hide behind this and see if we can get the other tank destroyers to come to us. Tank destroyer at the end of the road there. Can't get shots on him through here, so we're gonna pop out here. And he got killed too quickly. Already on 4 kills though and 2,188 damage. This type of situation, this tank's done very well. Being careful not to back out of the cap point. Now we're fighting against a Scorpion G, quite a strong tank with a big gun. But the Rheinmetall Borsuk at the end of the road, firing at him. Hopefully he'll fire for the Tiger, but he seems to have moved on. We'll have to watch that he doesn't pop up there again though. That IKV finding a shot into him, but we don't want to lose all our capture points, so we'll quickly pop back in again. Now getting a cheeky position through this plant. Shooting the IKV. Just gonna fire another one blind. However, that Scorpion G gonna move, and unfortunately he found our hole, it appears. Did he? Yeah, he seems to have found our hole. So this position isn't necessarily safe, and the Rheinmetall Borsig on our flank finishes us off blind, which is unfortunate. However, overall I think a good game for that positioning. Just getting into a position where your enemies are shooting your allies and taking advantage of that good gun statistics to pop out, take a quick shot and pop back in again. So here we are in the post-game stats, making a nice 4,500 credits from that. However, we only received 32,000 because after the repair costs and the ammunition resupply. However, with a premium account we would have made 5,500, so there's what you can look out for. Although we are making here 966 experience, which is decent. Fired 28 shots that game, hit 22, did almost 3,000 damage, which is a good result. Not quite enough to be top on the team on damage done. However, we were top on the team by experience done, which is quite nice. With a fighter, fire for effect, and bruiser to finish that game off. But so what happens when this tank isn't top tier? Well, that's what we're hopefully going to find out this game. Probably not going to perform as well, but we'll give it our best shot and let's see how it goes if we play like that again, supporting the tanks rather than trying to take the damage ourselves. I think we're going to follow our heavy tanks here up to the heavy tank corner because that's where heavy tanks tend to go. Now here we are on location with just going to poke out here, try and get some quick spots, but we don't see anything the first time. Having to come out more sideways to get the gun depression. However, we find a Conqueror and we pop back in before he can unload into us. Popping out because he's just fired. Trying to find the Commander's Cupola, but our gun penetration just not high enough for the Conqueror. Waiting again behind in support for that guy to fire again. Being a tier 7 tank, I'm a high priority target. And E75 waiting for me to pop out, it seems, so we're pinned down at the moment. E75 disappears, so we don't know where he is, and he seems to be pushing ahead. Will he fire? He seems hesitant though. The Conqueror seems to have just fired, getting spotted. Take the risk, pop out, pop back in quickly. And at that type of angle, our armor was actually quite effective. An auto ricochet there. Probably because of the 3 caliber rule. Again getting spotted, so we're going to fall back a little bit. See how these tanks handle. The E75 is fired. It's going to come in, put a shot in, but the Black Prince returns our shot back into us. And you'll notice here, even firing gold, you have to take a lot of it because this tank doesn't have the best penetration, and they're ricocheting. And I've noticed now that this position is more or less overwhelmed, and it's just about time to move on. But we may dispatch this Black Prince. I don't think at this point that we can successfully run, so the gun's been damaged. And there we are, what happens when you run out of friends in this tank. And we get shut down there by the T-29 in the back. So, more of an example of what happens when you try and play like that without friends in a higher tier game. This is post-Ribrock, and I was just going to say that Unfortunately, in this type of scenario, this is something that you will be seeing a bit of unless you can play it well. Maybe this was the wrong positioning, but it is what it is. So here we are taking a look at the post-game stats real quickly. We only got to fire 5 shots that round because we spent a lot of time being suppressed. Only 3 actually penetrated, and unfortunately because of the amount of gold we fired that round, only being 5 shells, or 4 shells even maybe, of gold ammunition, and the repair cost, we actually lost money off of that game unfortunately, only making 247 experience as well. So as compared to the rest of the team, we did okay. We were in the top 10, but it's just not good enough, and maybe I'm playing this tank wrong, but this is the way I tend to play it. It's got me a 58% win ratio, but when you don't win, you tend to lose hard, so there you go. If you're interested in this tank, then it does, on the American server anyway, go on sale from time to time, and if you're interested picking it up, then you'll have to wait then. Otherwise, that's how to take it out. Thanks for watching. See you on the battlefield.